experts. We are excited to be joined by three experts today. I'm going to introduce our speakers and quickly, my name is Esmeralda Martin Singh and I am the Partnerships and Policy Manager on Build Up California. And I'm happy to be able to introduce Kathy Tama, who is in an ECE programming and facility design expert. She's consulting on various local, state, and national projects. We are also joined today by Leanne Drogan, who is the Deputy Director for the Office of Advancement of Early Care and Education in LA County's Offices of Public Health. And I am going to hand it over first to Clara, who is joining us and is the coordinator of the Early Head Start Family Childcare Homes Network and Infant Toddler Centers at Modesto Schools. And she has over 37 years of experience in the field. So we have a great group of women who are here to share this information with us. So thank you for joining us. And I will hand it over to Clara and we're going to spotlight her.
Good evening, everybody. It's so nice to see such an interest, and we have a lot of information that we are going to cover within the next hour. Your agenda is up there for you to see. I am going to walk you through an infant toddler conversion, talk about family childcare and how to think about what ages you want to serve and what that may mean for you. And then we'll roll into resources where you'll hear about infant toddler expansion toolkit, the loan program for some of the family childcare homes, and then we will round it out hopefully with question and answer. So my name is Clara Nakai. I am the coordinator for a family childcare home network, and I also take care of the infant toddler center-based programs. And thank you for having me. Well, I'm going to start right away with a survey. What I forgot, I need to talk slow. Please forgive me, everybody. We're going to start with a survey so that I know who we have with us tonight. The survey questions are, what program do you serve children in? Is it a family childcare home? Is it infant toddler center based? Maybe it's something different. You can put other. And are you under enrolled? Do you have all of your full enrollment in your family childcare home or your center based program? And are you considering serving more infants and toddlers? Maybe you don't know that for sure, but if you could mark that, and then we will know who we have as our audience. I'm going to give you a few minutes to take the poll. Nice. Okay, so I have family child care home folks. I do have a couple of infant toddler center based. I'm curious to know who my others are and what kind of children or what role you have. Are you under enrolled? Yes, okay. I kind of feel like we're all filling that whole under enrollment. And you are considering or possibly considering taking more infants and toddlers. All right, so I am hoping that the information that we share tonight will definitely help you either progress with taking on more infants and toddlers or maybe even possibly convince you to. So my world may be a little bit different than some of yours in that our family childcare homes are an education network. And so what that means is that we follow Title V and Title 22 regulations, just like our state preschools do. We just have a different funding source. And so if there's things that you see or things that are listed that don't feel like it's a family child care home, because I hear a lot of times, oh, it looks like a mini center. A lot of that is because of the regulations that we are required to follow. But I do think it is good just to give you fresh ideas. So I kind of wanted to start with a family childcare home versus a center-based program because I think sometimes we forget that our family childcare homes do the same type of things as our center-based homes. So our family childcare homes, we have early learning environments and we individualize care in a nurturing setting. We have strong relationships with our families, especially because oftentimes we get them as infants, and then we sometimes could even have them till they're 12 or 13. It's usually hard for them to leave us. Mixed age groups is just automatic in a family child care home because you can take an infant and you can take a school age child. And providers are part of a professional learning community. You guys have other providers you reach out to. If you're in an education network, you're already tied to those resources that give you your education, your PD, and those things. In infant toddler center care, it's also a structured environment. We deal with small group sizes and a low child to teacher ratio. We focus on relationship-based care. It's developmentally appropriate curriculum. And I would say, if I had to say what our biggest difference is compared to center-based, is that the staff in a center-based are usually have some sort of credential and have to have infant toddler units. So my next question for you, and I believe it is also going to be a poll, is when you're looking at your family childcare home, or even if you're looking at your center-based program, what is your vision? Because your vision can be whatever you want it to be, as long as we can meet those needs. And so to do that, it's really a matter of studying what you have or where you are so that you know where you can expand. And so this poll is, what is your license capacity? Can you take 6 to 8 children? Can you take 12 to 14? If you're in center-based, are you taking 6 infants? Are you taking 12? And then your funded slots. So if you are taking state subsidy, how many of those slots do you take? For example, I have family childcare homes that can take 12 children, but they'll only take 5 funded slots so that they can take 5 private pay families. And then what is your actual enrollment? So I'm licensed for 12, but I only have 5 kids enrolled. And then I'm going to have you break that down a little bit more. So an infant is considered a child under 12 months. How many of those kids do you have enrolled currently? And a mobile infant is a child between 12 and 24 months. How many of those children do you have? And then how many toddlers, which is 2 years old? Young preschoolers are 3 to 4. Preschool is 4 years, pretty much until kindergarten entry. And then after school or school age would be TK, and technically this goes up to 3rd grade, but in family childcare you could even go older. So if you guys could take a few minutes to fill that out for us, just so I can kind of show you how to look at your data.
These data are a little harder to read, so I want to shout out in the license capacity. We have a lot of eights,
Okay.
some 12s. The largest center is licensed for 75 children. Um, Between 3 and 12, seats seem to be funded, but the actual enrollment is twos, threes. The largest is 40. I'm assuming that's that large 75 center. Um, For number of infants served, our few respondents are serving none. Um, Two toddlers are being served in one facility, but the rest of the responses are zero. Um, Older toddlers, some zeros, and one facility that serves 20. For preschoolers, it's lower numbers, assuming those are in family childcare homes, and about 20 was another respondent. Um, no preschool children are served in participating facilities in this survey, and none for after school care as well. So heavy on the infant toddler focus.
Okay. That I like to see that. I
Mhm.
think that infant toddler care right now is definitely needed. And so I'm very happy that you guys are kind of already there. This next slide, which if you're already doing family childcare, you already know what the difference is between a small and a large. So I'm just going to kind of briefly go through these a little bit quicker because I don't have a lot of time with you guys. So you already know 6 to 8 small. If you're going to take 8, the 2 do need to be school aged. Large, you can do 12 to 14, but the additional 2 that make up the 14 would also need to be school aged, which is something you need to think about when you are breaking down and looking at what you really are interested in serving. Center based is a little bit trickier. Your license will be specific to the square footage of your indoor and outdoor space. So as long as you have 35 square feet of usable space indoors per child and 75 square foot of space outdoor per child, licensing will usually base how many kids can actually be served there. There will be caps, of course, if it is an infant toddler program. Now I run a CCTR program, so you'll see over on the license side, your staff ratios are higher. So birth to 24, you can actually have a 1-to-4 ratio and a group size of 12 infants max. And your toddlers are a 1-to-6 with a group size of 12. For CCTR, if you have that kind of funding, I can only go 1-to-3 for infants and 1-to-4 for toddlers. What I want to remind you is quality is crucial. So keeping that high quality program where families feel safe and want to come because they are bringing their most youngest children to you. You want to make sure that you are following or aligning to best practices. So having 12 infants in a classroom, that it's a lot. And so I would really kind of caution that you're talking needing more staff, more room, and you would have to really look at your quality of care at that point. Analyzing your data. So you have done the first 2 polls. You know how many kids you're taking. You know how many you still need. This next one is when you're considering serving more infants and toddlers. Or are you considering serving more? Yes or no? Do you currently have space available for expansion? So if you're center based, do you have the actual square footage? What does your outdoors look like? Does it need help? Is there things that you need to make that program a higher quality? And what kind of space do you have? If you're center based, do you have a classroom that's just sitting there? Are you going to convert a classroom? Like maybe it's preschool and you want to change it to infant toddler? Are you going to build a new building or add an addition? Or is it just simply your outdoors needs help? So if you can, I'm going to give you just a few short minutes to do that one. Okay. Okay, nice, you guys. And so what you would do is with all the stuff and all the questions you just answered is really kind of compile that together so that you have a clear direction of what your ratios are, what you can actually add and what you can take. So knowing that you're a small license, if you already had 3 infants, you know that you cannot take anymore. Until you increase to a large license, right? And then even at that, do you only want to be an infant provider? So are you good with taking just 3 infants or nobody else, or 4 infants and nobody else? So just kind of really coming up with that plan on what's going to work best for you. So there are easy things that you can do that would increase your quality and make it simpler for you, whether you're in a center-based or a family childcare home. And one of that is adding sinks to your indoor space. So like for homes, right, it could be in our living room. And I'm like, why would I want a sink in my living room? Well, these are the type of sinks here, like this one, or any of these here, that you can remove anytime. Well, hold on, I'm going to reiterate that. These are kind of plugged into the wall. This one here is not. So if I was having a party and I wanted to move this, I could. But this will save you time. It helps with supervision. It keeps you from having to take a child down and around the hall. By dropping the sinks low, it saves your back from having to lift children up. Adding outdoor sinks is another way that will keep you from having to take all the kids back indoors if you need to wash hands. It also, again, helps with supervision. You know how dirty they get. If you're part of a state subsidized program, we follow the environmental rating scale and you're having to wash kids' hands nonstop, it feels like. Diapering, making sure these diaper tables that already have a sink in them tend to come in really handy. And then this little sink has been dropped down as well, so that if you have an older child that you're changing a diaper on, they could get down and wash their hands themselves while you're able to wash your hands. Adding a diapering area outdoors for the same purposes. You don't have to constantly run in and out, and it helps with supervision. These family childcare homes, they were set up this way. Modesto City Schools came in and we support the providers with a lending library. And so this was this provider's home before we were able to come in and help. You can tell it's just a little bit cleaner, it's brighter. Our family childcare homes tend to have their homes like in a separate room. And so it's not like they have to worry about it being in their living room, but not all of them do. This provider right here has a much smaller environment, and this was how she was set up prior to wanting to expand. And so these shelves that you see here, they're on wheels. So every Friday, she flips the wheels up and she rolls them into an empty bedroom that she has. And that way she has her living room back. And so it's really trying to find ways that are going to work for you, that will help increase your quality, keep kids engaged and busy, but then still have you have a home when it's all said and done. This year we were really lucky. We had a very large preschool classroom, and we transformed it into an infant toddler program. And so these pictures right here, preschool is on one side, and then that same space will show you how we transformed it into different areas for an infant room. And this classroom was so large, we were actually able to divide it in half and have infants on one side and toddlers on the other. So you'll see here, this is their napping area. This room is naturally dark without the light on, and so it just seemed like the perfect place for it. This was the play area that was right next to the nap area here. And this is what it looks like now. So we did change up the flooring a little bit so that I could have more carpeting or a little bit smaller area for like the eating and messing play, because I just didn't need that large for them. This is the entryway. This was the cubby area for our preschoolers. And this is the entryway for the infants and toddlers. We still have the little cubbies, but we have a gated off diaper area with it's hard to see, but there's a seat right here where the adults and the children both can wash their hands. This was the messy play eating area. Remember, there was a lot of preschoolers and they're a lot bigger. And so all these shelves went all the way down that wall where you saw that I divided the diaper area. And so we condensed that. We put in some sinks here. They were able to climb up and wash their hands at bigger sinks. So we have an adult sink here, and then we dropped this for the infants and then added a little step stool. You can only go so low with the pipes. This is showing you the back end of the classroom. And so there used to be they had these windows to kind of divide this section. And then there was built-in shelves on both sides. And this is where we added this wall you see here. We did do a half door so that this kind of doubles as a supervision if needed, but it also allows the kids to hear each other. And then the windows also allows the toddlers to be able to stand up and peer into the infant room. This was the wall. We're now on the toddler side of the classroom. This was the wall cabinet system for the preschool class. Here we took out some of that, built a hole in the wall, and then lowered a hand washing sink so that when they have messy play, they don't have to go into the bathroom to wash hands. They could wash it right there, which again helps with supervision. This was what this restroom looked like prior. Here we dropped the sinks. We added a diaper table with a seat. And then of course the hole or the window, I keep calling it a hole, but you know, the window here allows for supervision both ways. You can also hear if you need to, if somebody is talking to you. This is that corner that I said there were built-ins where we built the wall. So here's that section of wall that was built, and we transformed that area into the reading area. This is the other section that was their dramatic play where there's a wall now. And then we were able to make this into dramatic play and science. And then this was their eating area and their circle time. And this is what their circle time looks like now. And so it's possible. And I know I kind of went through them kind of quick. I just want to make sure that we're able to get you all the other resources as well. And thank you for letting me share.
Thank you so much, Clara. I know there was a question in the chat too, but I'll hand it over to Leanne to share about the great resources that she has, and then we can answer questions. Please make sure you put your question in the Q&A feature. But if anyone wanted to address the question about converting preschool to serve infant, the licensing requirement specifically, I welcome you to do that if you want to do that ahead of doing it. But if not, Leanne.
I can do that. I'm going to go ahead and let the other person start talking, and I'll read it, and then I'll come back to it.
Great. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm on. Is that right? Thanks. I'm just setting the timer. I think I have about 10 minutes. Is that about right? So, and I'll try and remember to go slowly. If you don't mind just changing the slide. So hello everybody. I'm Leanne Drogan, Deputy Director for the LA County's Office for the Advancement of Early Care and Education, and we sit in LA County's Department of Public Health. Elizabeth Betsy Jacoby was not able to do the presentation on behalf of our office today, so you get me. She and I work very closely on this. She's the lead, but I have been involved every step of the way, so you're in good hands. Next slide. Just want to remind ourselves that in LA County, the ECE system, the child care system, only has capacity to serve 13% of families with infants through infants and toddlers who are eligible for subsidized care. Next slide. And our office, the OAECE, we received funding from the Hilton Foundation to help increase licensed capacity to care for more infants and toddlers, and to help increase skills and knowledge of providers to deliver quality care to infants and toddlers. So my presentation is going to touch on some of the activities that we did to try and help with increasing these two areas. Next slide. I'm going to review a number of resources today, and I'm going to go through all of these. Okay, we'll jump right into it. The first resource I'm going to share with you is I want to just stop, and acknowledge the presentation that was just made by Clara. Fantastic. Thank you so much. The visuals were incredible, and it's so helpful to know also who is here in the room with us today, because a lot of what Clara just shared is in this next resource in terms of like, here's the things that you need to do. So if we go to the next slide, our office with Hilton's funding, we developed a toolkit. It's called the Information for Child Care Providers on Expanding Infant and Toddler Care in Los Angeles County. We cover 7 considerations that the top considerations we thought providers will want to think through in converting or opening infant and toddler care programs. I'm going to walk through each of these very quickly, so I'm not going to go through the list right here. We can do next slide. This toolkit, the link to it is in the chat right now, and it's a web-based toolkit, so you can always go and look and use it there. You can, all these tabs, you see the multicolor tabs, the columns, each of these are different pages, and you can click on them. So we try and help you get to where you want to go very quickly. The toolkits, all the toolkits that I'm going to talk about today, they're in multiple languages, anywhere from 5 to 7 languages. Including Spanish, such as Spanish, Mandarin, different things like that. Okay, so let me see. One of the things we also organized this toolkit based on if you're a family childcare home and a child care center, similar to how Clara presented the information. So when you go to the toolkit, look for which type of center you're operating, and the information will be separated out. All right, next. So we stay on this slide. One of the first considerations that we have information here on is licensing. What is needed in order to be licensed to provide care for infants and toddlers? I'm not going to go through the specifics on this, but this gives you a good kind of start of like, here's all the things you need to be thinking about, and the links that you and some of the links that will help get you to start the licensing process. Okay, next slide. The next consideration is around ratios. So Clara went through a lot of really good information about ratios, and it can be hard to track all of that. It's laid out for you right here. Okay, and it also includes I think we have in here space, how much square footage you need for how many kids based on age as well. Okay, next slide. The next consideration is staff qualifications. So what are the staff qualifications based on the age group that you're serving? Okay, next slide. Equipment. I love all of the different kinds of visuals that you showed of it. Infant toddlers need different kind of equipment, and the sinks, that really stood out to me. Clara, thank you. I'm gonna make a note of that. I think how useful it is to have sinks available. But there's other kinds of equipment that you want to take into consideration when you're going to be serving infants and toddlers. Next slide is if you're making changes to physical space, then there's want you to just be aware that if you're having to do renovations to that space, there's some kinds of renovations that you actually might need to get a permit from your local jurisdiction for. So let's say you are going to add on, or you're going to change the roof, or there's something in terms of flooring. There's some things you actually have to go and get approval to do that. So we have a different toolkit that tells you what are those kinds of things that you have to go get a permit for to make the changes. There's some things that, and then there's other things you don't need to, but it's really important that you know what things you need a permit for and you don't. Okay, next slide. A financial business model. It's a different age group, and your rates might change, and so we have a section around thinking through what's that financial business model you want to think through for serving infants and toddlers. We have a companion training for this. We did a survey of a number of childcare providers to ask, of these 7 considerations, what would you like a more deep dive training in? And this is the number 1 that came back. So we have that training is online, and you can access it using the link that's in the chat. Okay, next slide is also when you're doing outreach to families, you might need to modify what that kind of outreach looks like for trying to bring in more families with infants and toddlers. So here are some ideas and things to be thinking about. Lastly, we include a section around resources to help with, there's a lot to be thinking through. It's a big endeavor, and I commend all of you for even wanting to take that step. This is huge, and it's so needed. Okay, I'm gonna, so here's some additional resources for you to check out. I'm gonna quickly go through these next resources that our office also has on our website. If you can, next slide. And the first one is, I talked about, if you're in LA County, we have a program for if you need to do renovations to your space, so you have to go to the county or your city to get a permit and approval for those changes, then you most likely are going to get charged a fee. In LA County, we have what's called a fee waiver program. Right now, we will cover those fees that you're charged. So you contact us if you're going to start that process, and we'll do all that we can to help with covering those fees. Sometimes the fees are going to run in the few $100s based on how much of a project you're doing. It could be up to $20,000. Okay, so if you're in LA County, contact us and we can see if we can cover those fees for you. The next resource I wanted to share with you is that we also have, I referenced it earlier, a toolkit that says, how do you go through the process of getting these permits? It can be a complicated process. So the link in the chat can take you to this next toolkit, which is how to develop and renovate early care and education facilities in LA County. So with the really cute kids at the top, that toolkit is designed very similarly for you to be able to go through of like, this is step 1, step 2, step 3. These are things you want to consider. Also, when you're serving infants and toddlers, it is a different age group. A lot of you look like you have a lot of expertise already, but if you're looking for more training, you want to looking for more support and ways to be able to care for this age group, we have developed it's the infant and toddler professional development catalog, which is the bottom picture there, and that also is on our website. And it lists all the different programs and universities, colleges, training programs we could identify that specialize in providing training courses around infant and toddler development. So we have heard that's kind of the first of its kind, where you can just go look up and see where can I find a course on infant and toddler, specializing in infant and toddler care and development. And so hopefully that can be a good resource for you too. And that's organized in different ways, but I think it also includes what kinds of courses are free or might have a fee. And I think that is it. The next slide has our contact information, and we are happy to help in any way that we can.
Thank you, Leanne. And if we could go to the next slide, really quickly, I wanted to share another resource that is available that we're really excited about. LIF has partnered with Ascendus and Working Solutions CDFI to launch our Family Childcare Capital Access Initiative. And this is a loan product that's coupled with technical assistance. And if you're interested in it, you are encouraged to reach out and we can connect you to the folks at LIF who are working on this project. This is really exciting because it provides access to both TA and funding for family child care providers. So we're really excited about this project. And we have a success story on the screen for you to read. The next thing I wanted to make sure that I said was a big thank you to our presenters today. Clara, Leanne, Kathy, thank you so much for all of this rich information and all of these wonderful photos. I saw like in the infant room, something that I used to have in my son's room that I actually just took out because he outgrew it. And I just love seeing all of the things that the kids are having access to. So thank you for sharing all of this information with the folks that have joined us today. Thank you to our speakers. And I also want to say thank you to Build Up San Mateo County for supporting this webinar. We're really excited that we partnered with y'all to be able to provide this. And I want to be able to make sure that we address the question that we had and hand it back to Clara so that she can answer the question that came up in the chat about licensing. So I'll hand it over to Clara. And if there's anyone else that has a question, you're welcome to put it in the Q&A.
Okay, thank you. So you want to convert your preschool into an infant room, or infant and toddler, or just infant. It's very different. There are two trainings that even though you have a preschool, you're going to need to take it through community care licensing. And during that training, there is like an extensive list that kind of tells you what things need to be in place. And so after I took that training, we just set up the room according to what their different regulations were to have infants in there. So like, for example, the reason why you saw the division for the nap area is because you have to have that. It's see-through so that it could help us with the whole ratio and being able to supervise since somebody has to be in that room. I remember it has to make sure it's 4 feet tall, because if it's even slightly under that, then they will have a problem. When you're looking at your outdoor environment, so for us, we did infants on one side and toddlers on the other, but we wanted them to have the same outdoor area. So in order to do that, you have to make sure that you are doing a schedule that's showing that there's going to be a 10-minute difference between getting toddlers in and infants out, or vice versa. And then making sure that your equipment or things that you have out there to play with are going to meet both age groups. So it's more stuff like that that was very specific. For toileting, if you're doing toddlers, making sure that you have those toilet seats or, things that they can reach. So making sure you have the steps to the toilets, and then diapering. So does that help?
Yes, thank you
Okay.
so much. That was super helpful. I saw in both the chat and the Q&A a question about the resources that Leanne has shared and whether or not they're only for LA or, not being able to be used for other counties like Orange or other counties. The resources can be applied in other spaces in the only resource that is only for LA County is the fee waiver resource that we put in the chat. So the catalogs and the different toolkits, those can be applied in other counties in California.
There's just one, thank you, Esmeralda, for
Yeah.
sharing that. That's one caveat also, the toolkit that's on how do you navigate to get a permit, that is specific to LA County. However, it's very, very similar in other jurisdictions. It will get you on the right path and try and get you to be able to ask the right questions. But they're pretty, they're very, very similar in other jurisdictions, but it is written specific for LA County.
Great. And then some of the other resources that I have used and depended on, so like the whole sync, indoor, outdoor, being in their living rooms, that actually I kind of picked up, not kind of, I picked up from Louis Torelli that you see on your screen right there. We call him the sync guy because that's like one of his main, not one of them, but he's very convincing as to how much time it saves. And I will tell you that we've had providers that were like, I am not putting a sink in my living room. And then we're convinced to do it. And we're like, oh my gosh, my life has changed. Like I don't have to spend so much time running around the corner, down the hall, back and forth all day long. So just something to do. He also has great resources as far as how to enhance. He's done many preschools, and he even helped with some of our family child care homes. Another thing I wanted to just put together, and this comes from Kathy, is some of the different things that you saw in the pictures and where they came from. This diaper table actually doesn't need any plumbing. It has a tank underneath. And so if you don't have a way to plumb into something, then there's always that option. The sink with steps, having your diaper caddy, the sink again, that doesn't have to be plumbed in. And then just some of the things that it doesn't have to be complicated, right? You can buy a vanity, cut it down and use it. It doesn't have to be like specially made. We use this as well, the floor.com. These are actually carpet tiles that are really big. And so I can change my environment wherever I need to. So like maybe one day one month, I have my color over here. I can literally pick these up. They don't stick to the floor. And I can move it somewhere else if I needed to, or I could pick them up and wash them off. The importance of child-sized furniture so that their little feet can touch the ground. And then it gets high chairs out of your room, out of your environment, and they're just as safe.
I get to talk.
Oh, talk.
Okay.
Go.
So I want to go back a slide. Go back to Lewis's slide. I have been working with Louis Torelli since 1990, and he is just the most foremost expert on infant toddler environments in the country. So everybody wants Louis, and I've been so lucky to have been a close colleague, collaborated with him on a lot of projects and innovations. And also, I just want to make sure to go to his website, Spaces for Children, but put Louis Torelli Spaces for Children because other things are called Spaces for Children. So make sure you get him. He has a picture like that there. And on his website, he has such wonderful photographs of renovations he has done with family childcare homes and with centers. And he also has, he works currently a lot with the Head Start programs now. But he has a webinar, he has a book. He's just wonderful. So if you have time, because part of the issue is how do you lay out the classroom and what do you put in it? And that's almost a webinar session on its own, is how to actually sculpt the environment for the children. Okay, so go back to the other ones. Make sure if you buy the sink that has the water inside of it, make sure you buy the steps to the right of it because it doesn't have steps. Make sure you have steps. It saves your back, and you all should know that. Okay, the very last slide. I just want to get a thing. How many of you are center-based? The last slide. Are the people that are center-based? I don't know how to show hands or something. We show hands, but there is a whole occupancy code issue around center-based with infants and toddlers. So I don't know if we have. Is there anybody interested in there that I can talk to you about this? Because if you are your building is on ground floor, I mean, you're level to grade. That means you walk out of the door and you just walk out onto the sidewalk and you're right there. You don't have to go down a bunch of steps or hit a platform. That's at grade. And if you have 2 exterior doors, that means there's one you can go out when you go into the classroom, and then there's another one within the classroom. That's what has 2 exterior doors and one required in the classroom. Currently, under Group E and occupancy code for preschool, and you weren't serving infants, it's the occupancy code you have. And this is from the fire department, your fire marshal. And so currently you can only have 5 infants and toddlers in that situation. Now, I haven't forgotten when, but the scoop is it's going to change soon, and you're going to be able to have up to 100 infants and toddlers. Please, not in one classroom. But so that we just hasn't heard when that's coming yet. It's supposed to come in July, but we don't know. But everything else is I-4. And why I-4 is a little particular is that it kicks in the requirement to have sprinklers. So if you're not at grade and you don't have, so if you're not at grade or you don't have 2 exits out of the classroom you want to put infants in, you cannot do it. You have to have a group I-4, which requires sprinklers, which is so expensive. So that's a real big issue. If you're currently a center base that is only serving preschoolers and you want to serve infants, because putting in sprinklers is extremely expensive. Okay. Are there any questions to that?
There was a question in the chat, Kathy. I think you kind of touched on it a little bit. It says, can we increase the ratio for how much infant and toddlers are in family child care? I mean, I know you talked about it being in centers, but staff ratios are set by the Department of Social Services. So I don't know like how that, but feel free to add on.
Yeah, you want Claire to answer that question because it's a family child care home.
So right now they haven't increased that. But I do want to kind of have you think about that. Because for those of you that have 4 infants in your family child care home now, think about if you're by yourself, what that's like. If you have 3 that are crying at one time and you're one person. So even in our center base, like I have 3 staff there for only 6 infants, and there's times that it's not enough. So right now, I haven't heard that they're going to increase the family childcare slots. But I can't also claim to be the expert on that. I just kind of wait for those regulations to come out too. But I haven't heard that they're thinking about increasing it.
Can I just chime in on that? When we've talked with the fire marshal also about could that be a possibility of trying to, I mean, it seems logical. If we can serve more infants and toddlers in homes, we can build more capacity to serve more infants and toddlers. If they end up going that route, I have not heard at all that they are. Then it also will kick in some additional occupancy codes for homes that are very, very expensive. So if they were to go that route, it will most likely also trigger for them to for the fire marshal to set some specific occupancy codes that are going to make it very difficult for homes to be able to serve that more than what it currently is at now.
Do you want to also talk about quality of care for infants and toddlers?
Who, me? Sorry.
Clara, do you want to talk about the the things you have to think of when you're serving
Yeah. And this
infants
goes
versus
for in a family childcare home
preschoolers because
too.
of
Yeah,
the age differences developmentally?
is making sure that that you are able to meet the many different levels, right? Because just because you're an infant program, like when we first started, I had like 3 6-month olds, and then it jumped to like a 10-month-old, a 12-month, and they've got older, and so really finding a way to keep that quality where you can still give care to those like non-mobiles that are still trying to have their little space around them, and that interested little mobile infant that wants to come over and poke eyes and touch. And so really when you're looking at doing that infant toddler program or infant program, making sure that you have a variety of interesting things and the staff that is on top of it, right? Making sure that you're using those routines as their learning environment, and that you're taking the time to talk them through diapering and talk them through eating, and that you don't feel that rushed feeling like, okay, that one's crying, I got to get to that one. And really there's more to it, because we're their first, other than their parent, we have them all day. And so you want to build those strong relationships, and take the time to build those strong relationships.
Thank you, Clara. And I know we're at time. We're going to drop a survey link in the chat if you can fill it out before you sign off. We really appreciate it. I want to say thank you one more time to our presenters who joined us today for their time and expertise. Clara, Kathy, and Leanne, we really appreciate you. Thank you to our translator, Lena, and for Leslie and Samantha for joining and supporting the meeting today. We really appreciate it. And last but not least, thank you to Build Up San Mateo for co-sponsoring this webinar. Please fill out the survey before signing off, and have a great night.
Thank you for having me.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.